Hi everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here. I want to begin by wishing everyone a happy Father's Day. Did you have a favorite family sitcom growing up? Like many of you around my age or older, I grew up during the heyday of the family sitcom. I would watch reruns of shows from the 1950s to the late 1970s, along with those that premiered in the 80s, like The Cosby Show, Family Ties, and Silver Spoons. The formula was consistent, with each episode typically concluding with a valuable lesson or a heartwarming moment. Each sitcom episode was a miniature narrative of human development, often featuring the family's children or sometimes the childish adults learning a lesson that helped them grow into mature individuals. Now, one of my favorites was Leave It to Beaver, which when I was growing up was on TBS on reruns. And I remember an episode that gave one of the best tributes to a father I have ever heard. Theodore, who of course was known as the Beaver, had to write an essay about the most interesting person he knew. He struggled to find a subject. He wanted to write about his father, Ward, but felt that Ward didn't do anything particularly interesting, so he tried to think of someone else. And finally, he received advice from his mom, June, who told him to write about how he feels about his father and why he feels that way instead of focusing on what he does. So he spent the evening working on his essay, and as the family gathered for breakfast the next morning, Ward asked him if he had finished his essay and if he could read it. And Beaver handed him the paper, and Ward began to read aloud. The most interesting person I know is my father, Mr. Ward Cleaver. He does not have an interesting job. He just works hard and takes care of all of us. He never shot things in Africa or saved anybody that was drowning, but that's all right with me, because when I'm sick, he brings me ice cream, and when I tell him things or ask him things, he always listens to me. And he'll use up a whole Saturday to make junk with me in the garage. He may not be interesting to you or someone else because he's not your father, just mine. It's funny, but that episode has stayed in my mind all these years because it captures how I feel about my late dad. It also represents the type of father I strive to be for my own children, even though I sometimes fall short. Now, in today's video, I want to share some special items in my collection that I haven't shown before that remind me of my grandfather and my father. A couple of months ago, I was texting with my friend Rick, who runs the channel Rick Acosta, Dodger Card Collector. Put a link to it down below. I mentioned to him that, like me, Sal Maglie was born in Niagara Falls, New York. Now, Maglie was a few years older than my paternal grandfather, and Rick asked if my grandfather knew him. Interestingly, my grandfather, who passed away in 2000, is a member of the Niagara Falls Sports Hall of Fame, just like Maglie is. In fact, both of my grandfathers have been inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame. My father's dad was a catcher in the Industrial League back when factories had baseball teams. He was an exceptional player, winning the league MVP in 1950. Here's a picture of him with his trophy, and then next to that is a picture of him in his catcher's equipment. Now, about a month ago, I received a package from a family member that included several items for my grandfather and my dad. Among the treasures was a signed J.D. McCarthy photo of Sal Maglie inscribed to Mac, which is how my grandfather was affectionately known to his friends. This postcard likely dates back to when Maglie was pitching coach with the Red Sox either from 1960 to 1962 or from 1966 to 1967. Curious to learn more, I delved into the archives of Niagara Falls' hometown newspaper, the Niagara Gazette, and I was surprised to discover 2 pictures of my grandfather with Maglie. The first photo on the left is from February 1966, and it shows my grandfather and Maglie as part of a group forming a baseball league for 16 to 18-year-olds. There's a Sal Maglie right in the center, and my grandfather's right behind him. And then the picture on the right was taken in November 1966, and it captures Maglie, who was then a pitching coach with the Red Sox, presenting a championship trophy for the league named after him to the team my grandfather coached. There's the trophy right there. There's Maglie, and then there's my grandfather looking on. Seeing my grandfather in these snapshots made me wish my dad and grandparents were still around to share their stories about these moments. Nevertheless, I'm thrilled to have these items as part of my collection. Also included in my collection is a 1952 Bowman second-year card of Sal Maglie that I picked up a few weeks ago. It's proudly placed in my display case, documenting my collecting history. Lastly, I want to share this large mural on display in downtown Niagara Falls on the side of DeFazio's restaurant, located across the street from Sal Maglie Stadium. It was painted by Alessandra Price, and the mural depicts Maglie in a Yankees uniform. Now, this might seem odd at first, since he played 7 of his 10 seasons with the New York Giants, and only part of 2 seasons with the Yankees. However, I suspect the choice of the Yankees uniform is due to the significant Italian population in the area, many of whom are avid Yankees fans, though this hasn't been confirmed. These pieces of memorabilia and local history connect me to my family in the rich tapestry of baseball lore, making them invaluable parts of my collection. I also want to honor my dad this weekend with this 1964 Topps American League Bombers card, depicting 4 players he admired growing up. I had this card on my want list for several months, and receiving it in the mail on Monday, just in time for this Father's Day tribute, feels very fitting. I've shared a few times how my dad as a child attended a Tigers and Yankees game with my grandfather, becoming a fan of both teams. And this card, it just symbolizes that era. It's a cathartic reminder of those cherished times. These combo cards beautifully capture the camaraderie among ball players. I can just envision Norm Cash and Mickey Mantle, both small-town country boys, bonded by their love of nightlife, discussing where they might grab a drink after the game. Meanwhile, the more reserved Al Kaline and Roger Maris exchange polite small talk, surrounded by the sounds of gloves popping as players warm up around them. It is a breezy, sunny day at Yankee Stadium. Perfect day for a ball game. This card, it serves as a poignant reminder that the baseball field transcends mere play. It's a sanctuary where legends tread upon lush green grass, crafting an atmosphere that is both electric and timeless. Let me know in the comments if you have any cards that remind you of your father, grandfather, or a male role model who had an influence on you. As we celebrate Father's Day weekend, I wish you all a memorable time with loved ones, and until we speak again, take care.